everyone, and I am very excited that you took the time out of your busy Tuesday afternoon to join us here today. Again, as Paige said, I coach a group program for mass called Dominate Your Market. I am also a bold coach, and I actually coach just a handful of mastery clients. Dominate Your Market is a program focused on Fizbos and expireds, and my goal for our time together today is share some powerful thoughts with you on how you can take 2 listings a week by working Fizbos and expireds. And I'm going to mention this real quick, and at the end of the call, I'll mention it again. Dominate Your Market is a 12-week program. We have a 1-hour call each week for 12 weeks. So it's a 3-month program, and the total cost for this program is $297. So it's $99 a month. You're going to get a tremendous amount of value. You're going to learn how to handle the toughest objections, which come from Fizbos and expireds. As you know, your past clients, sphere of influence, when you're making calls to your MESH database, you don't typically get a lot of objections. Where you get stopped from setting appointments over the phone, or whether you even door knock a Fizbo and expire, those are typically the sellers that will give us the most objections. So Dominate Your Market, I cover every single one of the toughest objections you hear from Fizbos and expireds in detail. We do a lot of role playing. You learn how to close effectively for appointments, do a powerful Fizbo presentation. And the next one starts this Friday. Okay, so if you're interested in starting right away, Friday the 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern time is the next Dominate Your Market. So now, I want you to write a couple of things down, okay? In bold, and I know some of you are bold graduates, some of you may be starting bold next week as we have our second launch of the year starting in 104 locations next week. In bold, we teach you some foundational pieces of your business. One of the foundations of your business is your MESH database. You absolutely need to focus on building a database and having that entire database on a powerful communication schedule, a 33, 36 touch, and over a period of 2 to 3 years of bringing consistent value on these touches to your database, you can get, Gary in MRA talked about the 12 to 2 ratio. For every 12 people in your database, you can close 2 transactions a year. We know that's the foundation of your business. In bold, Diana teaches us that in addition to this database, that's going to bring you a tremendous amount of repeat and referral business. You want to also be talking to people you don't know, because your MESH database are people you know, your past clients, your friends, your coworkers, relatives, and building that database of people you know. What about the people you don't know that can provide you immediate business? So I want you to write it down like this. For sale by owners and expired listings, which we also cover in bold. In step 2 of bold, you learn expired scripts, and we actually ask you to make some expired calls in the room. Step 3, you learn the for sale by owner material. So I want you to consider this. In Fizbos and expires, you will find business that will come to you immediately. So in bold, Diana teaches us these are high impact calls. What does high impact mean? It means that you are talking to people that are selling their house right now. Fizbos and expires, I don't care, and I know there are people on this webinar or you're listening to the recording, and You're all over North America, all over the United States. It doesn't matter what your local market is and how many Fizbos and expireds you have. I know for a fact, I've been coaching for the last 10 years, there is at least one Fizbo and one expired a week that you can list regardless of what's happening in your market or what market you're in. I want you to write it down this way. New expired listing. So I define a new expired listing by a property that just came off the market yesterday. So this morning, they showed up in your MLS as expired. New expired listings. 50% of them relist their property within 48 hours. Within 48 hours, half of them are back in the MLS. Tremendous opportunity. 80% of for sale by owners hire an agent within 3 weeks of starting their Fizbo process. So, and here's the deal, okay? Some of you maybe have never called Fizbos or expires before, and you may be a little scared of talking to them, okay? Maybe because of something you've heard from other agents that, maybe some agents in your office have called Fizbos and expires and it didn't go well. They got hung up on, they heard objections they didn't know how to handle. And some of these agents that had negative experience with Fizbos and expires shared their negative experience with you, and you believe them. So you have this impression, right, that these are tough people to talk to, that you're not going to be able to get an appointment with them. Some of you may be newer to real estate and you don't have knowledge of the script and you don't have enough skills yet, and you're thinking, well, I know these are tough people to talk to. Some of you might have called Fizbos and expireds in the past and you got hung up on, or you heard an objection and you didn't know how to respond. And so you may not believe, for various reasons, that these Fizbos and expires are actually going to give you an appointment and list with you. So you have a limiting belief. In bold, Diana teaches us about how do we remove our limiting beliefs. And your limiting belief might be, you know what? I believe that 50% of new expired will list within 48 hours. I believe that 80% of Fizbos list their house within 3 weeks. I just don't believe they're going to do it with me. Okay? And I am here to tell you that certainly if you don't call them or go to their door and knock on their door, you certainly will not be able to take these listings. Okay? Clearly, in order to be able to convert them into appointments, you're going to have to be open to the possibility of getting in front of them. When I got a real estate license 22 years ago, I had no sales experience. I had never sold anything to anybody. I'm a completely different person today because of my real estate career. Very shy, introverted, talking to strangers was like the last thing anybody that knew me would say, oh yeah, should be good at that. And Fizbos and expires, being able to convert them into appointments and taking those listings these are learned skills. And more than even skills, which is knowing what to say and how to say it. That's what skills and scripts give you. Even more than that, it's all a mindset. And it's all about your energy and your beliefs. Because even if you don't know what to say, okay? Because in Dominate Your Market, you're going to, when you sign up for the program, I can assure you that by the end of the 12 calls and the end of the 3-month program, you will know what to say. There is no doubt in my mind. You're going to have so many different ways of knowing how to respond to objections, close for appointments, present, pre-qualify. You'll know what to say. And when you know what to say, that knowledge is going to give you confidence. So if you know what to say, you're more likely to actually get in front of them, pick up the phone call, or go to their door and speak with them, because not knowing what to say is a real fear. Okay, I call them, now what? And they tell me, an expired says to me, well, why didn't you sell my house when it was listed for sale? A Fizbo says, I don't want to pay a commission. What do I say? So you will know what to say. And also a huge part of it is your mindset. Do you believe that you can bring value to a for sale by owner, that it would make sense for them to pay you a commission? That's what this is all about, okay? When I believe, let me give you some pointers on Fizbos, and then we'll go to expires. For sale by owners, they're selling on their own because they want to save the commission. I mean, 99% of them. Okay? There may be the occasional one that had a horrible experience with an agent, or they were on the market before with another agent and they expired, and that's the reason why they're going Fizbo, because the agent couldn't sell their house. 99% of the time, it's a commission conversation. They don't believe that hiring an agent it's going to make a difference for them financially. In fact, they believe the opposite. Okay, they believe that they can do just as good a job as a real estate agent can do. And quite honestly, if I wanted to sell my house and I thought that I could do just as good as any agent can do, I'd be selling it on my own too. And yes, Fizbos, this is my mindset. You know, I mentioned to you how mindset is critically important. My mindset is Fizbos will list with me if I can show them that there is value in the commission that I charge. I mean, how could you expect them to hire you if they don't think that it's going to make a difference for them financially? Why would they pay somebody to do something that they can do on their own? I personally don't believe that Fizbos will be able to get the same results they would if they hired me. And Dominate Your Market is a program that's going to give you the tools. It's going to help you understand and know how to present to them. The problem presentation, which Diana, when in bold on step 3, you watched the video of Diana, and it was the problem presentation. She's talking about the problems that Fizbos have and how you can solve those problems for them. And those problems cost them money. So let me give you a couple of thoughts on some of the problems that Fizbos have that cost them money. So write this down. I'm not going to be able to give you a lot of scripts today. I'll give you just some thoughts that you can actually use immediately in your conversations and presentations to Fizbos. Problem number 1 that they have is a lack of exposure. Okay, a lack of exposure. I don't care how many hundreds of websites Fizbos put their house on, how many open houses they do. They have a sign in front of their house. They're doing flyers. It doesn't matter what they do. The lack of exposure is related to the second problem, and I want you to write this down. 90% of buyers buy their home from real estate agents. So see how problem number 2 ties into problem number 1. If 90% of buyers buy homes from agents, that means that as a for sale by owner, no matter what they do to create exposure for the property, they're only attracting 10% of the buyers on the market. So they're not exposing their home to the 90% of buyers that are working with agents, because they're not working with an agent. Okay? So now, how does that affect the price of their home? under the problem number 1, which is a lack of exposure, I'd like you to write down the basic law of economics, which is the law of supply and demand. The law of supply and demand says that the more demand that you can create for any product or service that you are selling, the higher the price you will sell that product or service for. A house is no different. More demand equals more money. Whether you're selling a house, a car, a pair of shoes, more demand equals more money. That's what law of supply and demand says. So when you think about the fact that 90% of buyers are buying from agents and Fizbos are only exposing their property to 10% of the buyers on the market, it's very easy to see why, according to NAR in 2016, for sale by owners nationwide sold their properties for 23% less than the homes that were listed and sold by agents. This is just the beginning of the problem that cost them a lot of money and how you can bring value. Okay? Now, why is it that 90% of buyers buy from agents? It's very simple. All of the services of a licensed, professional, experienced real estate agent, the agent is free to buyers. Buyers don't pay a commission. Sellers pay a commission. So when you think about the fact that all the services of an agent are free to buyers, what's going to motivate a buyer to pass up all these free services and go directly to a Fizbo? The only motivating factor is money. I can buy it for less and I can save money. And that's the mindset of a bargain hunter, a buyer that's looking to save money, which are typically, in the problem presentation, Diana talks about the 4 types of buyers. And the first type is serious in a hurry. Second one is serious, not in a hurry. Third one is investors. And the last one is the looky-loos, as Diana calls them. The ones that are looking around and they're not ready, willing, and able to buy anything right now. The serious in a hurry buyers, serious in a hurry, they're working with agents. That's part of the 90% that are buying from agents. Serious, not in a hurry, they're working with agents. The investors are on that 10% that are looking for a deal. And the third problem Fizbos have that cost them money is exactly that. They're dealing with bargain hunters because money is the only motivating factor for a buyer to buy a Fizbo. Otherwise, they'll go work for an agent for free. The fourth problem that costs them money is they're dealing with unqualified buyers. And hey, as a real estate agent, you've experienced unqualified buyers, right? One of the biggest issues that agents have in working with buyers is making sure that they only work with the buyers that are ready, willing, and able. And the unqualified buyers actually represents, according to NAR, 96% of every buyer inquiry you received from the internet, or every 96% of any buyer sign calls you get, or buyers that are walking into open houses. According to NAR, only 4% are ready, willing, and able. These are the same buyers that would be calling Fizbo. So if, as an agent, with all the training, the experience, and the knowledge you have a challenge sorting through the buyers that come to you and focusing on only spending time with the ready, willing, and able buyers, because you don't get paid for showing houses. You get paid when you sell one. And it's challenging for us as real estate agents to determine who is ready, willing, and able. Imagine a for sale by owner. You know, when they say to you, well, I'm getting a lot of calls, I'm getting a lot of activity, you get a lot of calls and activity from buyers too. How many of those are you actually able to convert into a contract? So imagine the experience of a Fizbo around this conversation. So recap real quick. First problem, lack of exposure. Second one, 90% of buyers are buying from agents. Third one, bargain hunters. Fourth one, unqualified buyers. Fifth problem, no negotiating skills. There is so much that you negotiate. It's not just the price. It's not only making sure that all the disclosures are signed. Inspections, repairs, financing. There's so many things that you take care of and you watch out for your sellers for that could potentially cost them a lot of time and money in the area of negotiating. Problem number 6, legal liability. Legal liability. And finally, number 7 would be security. Opening their home to a complete stranger, right, without really knowing who they're showing their property to. I mean, and you don't even have to go there, okay? Security is not even something that because that's more of an emotional conversation, yeah? There's enough logic in everything else that you don't even I just want you to think about the issue of security for a for sale by owner. All of these problems cost them money. And as a great real estate agent, you can solve these problems for them. And by solving problems that cost them money, you'll be able to net them more money. And when you show them the value in your ability to take care of all these problems for them at a very high level, they see the value in actually paying you the commission you charge, because they realize that you'll more than be able to make up for that difference in commission they're looking to save. Let's talk about expireds for a minute, and then we could open up to questions. And if you have any objections, that I could actually do some role playing on the call today, and I would take Fizbo and expired objections from those of you who are calling Fizbos and expireds right now. Okay, so questions or any objections, we could role play as well. Let me give you a couple of thoughts on expired listings. Expired listings when you speak with an expired, you gotta give them hope. So to list a Fizbo, you gotta show them value. To list an expired, you gotta give them hope that you can get this property sold, because expired listings after 6 months of being on the market and not being able to sell, most of them don't believe that their property could be sold, okay? And I mean, I would think that way too. Put yourself in their situation. 6 months ago, they hired an agent. I am pretty sure their agent was confident that they could sell the house, and then here we are 6 months later with an unsold property. And there are different ways that you can give them hope. And one of the easiest ways is for you to speak to them confidently. Because if you're not confident, if you call an expired and you're hesitant and you're not sure you could sell the house, and you're looking at the price and you're saying, boy, I know that area, and this house is overpriced and they'll never be able to sell it for this price. If you're going to that call or you go to their door and that is your mindset, you're going to be hesitant and they're going to hesitate. You hesitate, they hesitate. You got to speak with these expired listings confidently. And I look at confidence the same way that, in Bold, you watched that video from Mo Anderson about being enthusiastic, and Mo said, when you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. And when you act confidently, you will be confident. And when you are confident, you instill confidence in them, and that's what they need. They're already sort of, lost hope. They don't have confidence their house would sell. So if you call them and you're hesitant, you're gone. I mean, it's done. Yeah? That call is going to end very quickly. There's one thing that if you've ever called an expired, you've experienced it already. A new expired. You know, if they've expired a week, 2 weeks ago, it's a little bit different. The brand new ones that come off the MLS today, they will hang up on agents very, very quickly. If you don't speak confidently, if you don't give them hope, if you don't close for appointments, you can lose those calls very quickly. Expireds, Fizbos on the other hand, they'll talk to you. They don't hang up on agents, Fizbos, as quickly as expireds do. And yet, Fizbos are a little tougher to set appointments with. Expireds, if you could keep them on the phone and you could give them hope and sound confident, they'll say yes a lot faster than a Fizbo. The challenge is, how do I keep them on the phone long enough to get a yes and be able to set a qualified appointment? Hope and confidence. Because if you sound wishy-washy, that call is going to end within a few seconds. So now, Paige, we're almost at the 30-minute mark on the call. So I'd like to open up for any questions that we may have.
Yeah, great. So we do have some objections that they would like you to address.
Okay.
So we have Sarah, and she said, our Fizbos mostly use real estate companies that put them on the MLS under a limited service agreement, and that gets them in front of the agents. So how do they combat that?
Okay, so Sarah, I'm going to give you some thoughts on this, so it's not necessarily a role play. And by the way, in Dominate Your Market, I have a 1-hour call, and I spend the whole entire hour on handling Fizbo objections. And this objection that Sarah gave us is the very first one that I actually addressed. I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts on this, okay? And just know, in Dominate Your Market, I give you like 6 or 7 different ways to handle this, I call it flat fee for MLS objection. The first thing I want you to consider is this with the flat fee. These companies that put properties in the MLS, and they charge an upfront fee. So it's, let's call it $300. They put the house in the multiple listing service. They don't represent the seller in any capacity. They take $300 up front. They put the property in the MLS. It goes in the MLS. I don't know specifically how your MLS works. Most MLSs have a listing type. So this is, when I was selling real estate, I don't even know the MLS in South Florida right now. When I was selling, these listings went in the MLS under a listing type of limited representation. They weren't exclusive right to sell, ER. They were LRs. In the comment sections or the description of the property, it would say call owner directly or there's no agent representation. So these properties go in the MLS, and when an agent in your MLS wants to show the property, they know they have to call the seller directly. If they're going to write an offer, they deal with the seller directly, showing instructions, call owner directly. So these companies and these agents, they put it in the MLS and they walk away. They don't care if this property ever sells because they're getting paid their $300 up front. The owner is on their own. So just remember this, okay? So now, because they have no interest whatsoever in whether this property sells, their conversation with the homeowner is like this. Okay, so you want the house in the MLS. Great. How much do you want to price the property? $400,000. Okay, great. I'll put in the MLS for $400,000, and this agent goes away. Okay, this is not an agent that will do a market analysis, will help the seller understand the market, understand the price, the competition, the recent sales. No, it's simply like, okay, $400,000, the house is worth 300, the seller wants 400, which is like the typical homeowner out there, right? 99% of them want more money for the house than the house is worth. Okay, put it in the MLS for 400, walk away. So these properties, because they are overpriced, because the agent doesn't do any work in helping the seller understand price or call for price reductions, they're overpriced. They sit in the MLS for a long time, and if and when they sell, they end up selling clearly for way below what they were asking. And this is if the seller on their own decides, you know what, somehow I figured out it's been sitting on the market for a month, 2 or 3 months, nobody's looking at it, it must be overpriced, call the company, they lower the price in the MLS again and again and again. So what I'm getting to here is not only they're not going to get the same exposure because they're in the MLS as a limited representation, which for buyer's agents, what that means is if they show and sell one of these properties, they'll get the same 3% that they would if they showed a property that has a seller representation by an agent. So in essence, they're going to get the same amount of money and do twice as much work because there's no agent representing the seller that's going to help put the deal together, keep it together, and close. So it's going to be a lot more time invested and a lot more work for the same amount of money. So any agent that's paying attention to their business will avoid those listings. They're overpriced to begin with. That's another reason why agents won't show them. So the best way for you to overcome this objection, okay, is for you to go in your MLS and actually do some research. Get to know who your competition is. If these companies are actually your biggest competitor, like Sarah said, most of the Fizbos in my area are using these companies. And by the way, I was in real estate. I got a license 22 years ago. When I first started, it was a buyer's market, okay, in South Florida. And then right around the year 2000, I was selling, and it turned into a seller's market. The real estate market in South Florida, as it was in many parts of the country, was a revolving door. Okay, homes were selling very quickly for crazy prices, and these flat fee for MLS companies, that was the number one objection I had to handle in order to list these properties, because every homeowner thought that they could sell on their own. These companies were all over the place because properties were selling very quickly. And in those years, in the early 2000s, I was actually listing about 100 Fizbos a year, and this was the number one objection that I handled. And it was by helping sellers understand logically why using these companies, all they're going to do is throw away $300, spend a lot of time, and they would have, in essence, they're paying a 3%, they pay $300 up front, whatever it is, right? I'm using 300, and they're paying 3% in the MLS to have a buyer's agent work against them. Because buyer's agents, if they get any showings, they're representing the buyer's interest. This homeowner has no representation, so it's like paying an attorney to represent the other party. I'll pay you 3% so you can negotiate against me. And then if you go in the MLS, and I was talking about getting to know your competition, I'm giving you like a variety of thoughts here because I know this is probably a very common objection for most of you with Facebook. Go in your MLS and get to know who these companies are, what kind of results they produce. So here's what I'd like you to go in the MLS and determine. What is their average days on market for flat fee companies? You're gonna very quickly realize that their listings, the properties they put on the market, stay on the market for a very long time. Their average days on market is way above your MLS average days on market, your personal and your market center's average days on market. Why? Because they all go on the market overpriced. What is their list to sales price ratio? Because the 99.9% of them go in the MLS overpriced. If and when they sell, as I said earlier, they end up selling for way, way, way below what they originally listed for. So their list to sales price ratio is infinitely wider. You know, that percentage, it may be 90% list to sales price ratio, where the average MLS might be 96% and your personal might be 98%. So it's very easy to show a seller that you averaged your sellers 98%, whereas these companies is a gap of 10%. So it's very easy to justify the difference in commission you charge. How about the percentage of listings they take that actually expire as compared to MLS average, your market center, or your personal average? These are results. This is evidence that the service that they offer the sellers don't end up saving money. They just waste a lot of time, and they end up actually having to hire a professional agent, not even to mention the negotiating skills, because these agents are not working to represent the seller. So this is just a quick overview. And again, in Dominate Your Market, you actually learn how to convey all of this to a seller, right, in the form of like real script. So I trust this helps you, Sarah. What else do we have, Paige? What other questions or objections do we have, Paige?
Okay, we have with the question from Katrina. With 100 bold students in our area calling expireds, how do you get an edge when sellers are getting bombarded and angry with agents?
I love that question. Okay, so the number one thing that I would say, okay, I'm going to give you the top two, okay, top two. Number one, internalize that first line on the expired script. In bold, we give you 3 opening lines for calling an expired. Pick one and internalize it, own it. So you never, when an expired answers the phone and they're angry because they're getting a lot of calls from agents, they answer the phone and say, hello. You don't have to read from the script. You don't have to think. You don't have nothing. That first line is just going to flow out of your mouth like you absolutely own it. Because if you're in your head, okay, when they call and they sound angry and frustrated, and you hesitate, that's it. That's how that call ends in 2 seconds, okay? So internalize at the very least and immediately the first line on the expired script so you don't have to be in your head thinking about what to say. Secondly, your energy. It's everything. What's gonna separate you from every other agent that's calling and saying the same thing is the energy, the confidence, the excitement, the belief. That's what's going to separate you. Remember, in bold, you learned that only 7% of your communication comes from the words that you say. So the actual script it's the least impactful part of your communication. Your tonality, your body language, how you sound when you actually say that script is what's going to separate you from everybody else. And this is why I said the first thing you got to do is you got to internalize the script. You got to own it. Because if you don't own it, if you're reading it from a piece of paper, your energy is not going to be very high because you're going to hesitate because you don't know what to say. You're going to be thinking about what to say. And rather than focusing on how you sound, okay? I'm going to give you one more. Master the skill of mirroring and matching. We teach that in bold. The number one skill that will get expireds and Fizbos to speak with you is your ability to build rapport very quickly on that call. And you do that by being able to mirror and match, which is sounding like they do. Mirroring and match their rate of speech, the volume of their voice, their tonality, their emotion. If they're frustrated and angry, so if they answer the phone, hello, and you, hi, this is Jackie. That's it. You've lost them already because they're in this emotion of frustration, and you sound like you're happy that they answer the phone, and that's the opposite emotion right there. And as you know, all of you at some point in your life have received a call from a telemarketer. Okay, and if you're on the phone with a telemarketer and you're rushed and you answer the phone and they, you're in a hurry and they sound very like laid back. Hi, you lose your patient immediately. The opposite is also true. If they answer the phone and they're very like laid back, hello, and you go aggressive on them, you lose them as well. So those are the things that are going to cause you to stand out. And these are learned skills. You've learned them in bold. You're going to learn them at a higher level even, because we spend so much time on it and dominate your market. Remember, those are the things that cause you to stand out. Paige, what else do we have?
I think you covered most of the objections that people are putting in. So I just want to mention that this program, Dominate Your Market, it starts on March 23rd at 12 p.m. Central.
Which is this coming Friday. Yep.
Yeah. And today we have a promotion to save 15% off with that code WEB15. And I posted the link there in the chat box, so you can click that link directly, or you can head over to mapsgroupcoaching.com and sign up for Dominate Your Market.
Okay, and on the mapsgroupcoaching.com page, there's a place to enter the discount code for them.
That's right. Yes, WEB15.
Cool. All right, perfect. Well, I trust that you got some great information out of this call that you can use immediately. And you know what? I just want to leave you with this thought. It takes time to develop the skills, and you got to start working on it immediately. Pick up the phone. Call Fizbo, call expireds, go to the door. Because every call you make, every contact you make is a learning opportunity. And if your energy is high, if you speak confidently, remember, when you speak confidently, you act confident, you will be confident. And that's something that you bring from within. Even if you're not skilled yet, you don't know what to say, it doesn't matter. If you're full of energy and enthusiastic, I believe that covers up for a lack of skills in a huge way. You'll be able to actually set appointments and take listings just on your energy and your enthusiasm while you are improving your skills. So get out there and start playing the game immediately, because these Fizbos and expireds, they're going to list with somebody. It might as well be you. And the quicker you start contacting them, the quicker they'll be yours. Paige, any final thoughts? All right, it sounds like we're complete for today. Hey, I look forward to having all of you on our Dominate Your Market starting on Friday the 23rd. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on our call today, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. All right, thanks, Paige. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.